everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, runner of words, recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you are playing characters Gatwald, Max Sabra, or Toro, this video is not meant for you, because there will be lots of spoilers, but for the rest of you, welcome! Stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net. For streaming, I use OBS Studio. I recently felt like I was in a sitcom on last Friday. Our local ice cream place, which we love, we'd heard, I guess my wife had heard from Facebook or something, that their freezer had broken and that they were not giving away, but selling ice cream at a deep discount, literally trying to get it so, like, because it was melting. Like, they still had, like, their front window freezer full of all the stuff you could get, but, like, the back freezer was the one that was going out. So, of course, I took the girls and ran up there, and we started getting some ice cream by the pint and the quart. And then next thing I know, my wife's calling me, and she's like, all right, I just talked to your mother and your sister, and, like, all the family wants ice cream. So, literally, I ended up getting just fucking giant quart-sized buckets of ice cream, to where I had like bags of ice cream coming out of the ice cream place. It was great ice cream, by the way, really, really good stuff. But I don't think we'll need to get ice cream for a long time afterwards. But we are here to talk about Crafting the Deep with the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. Still, the Sinister Secret has been revealed. I thought it went pretty well. We didn't get quite as far as I thought we might have gotten, but if you recall, I anticipated two different scenarios. One, we would get through the entire caverns, and then I could end it there. And two, we would get through some of the caverns, and then this next session would be basically wrapping up the house/caverns, and then we'll do kind of the between section where really, I don't know what's going to happen. The PCs will presumably want to, turn some stuff over to the authorities, or who knows what, maybe try to blame Galen Primewater for something. I don't necessarily want to get too wrapped up in the politics of it, so I'm basically just going to leave it up to the players in terms of how much they want to get into it of the weeds. I'm also thinking the important part will be the next stage, the next breadcrumb they need for the continuing of the adventure, and that is learning about the Sea Ghost, the ship that's arriving. So I talked about initially having the Sea Ghost arrive the next night, but then that gives them like 24 hours to like fuck around with the town, and it feels weird to montage them through all that. So I'm thinking maybe it would work better for pacing purposes if the Sea Ghost is actually set to arrive tonight. Maybe that gives a sense of urgency for a lot of the crew, and Sandbalay can even be shouting out that, like, that we need to get this done, and I can't believe we're getting this interruption this late. Like, we're getting all our, that's why they've got all the weapon stockpiles here. Like, they are ready to go. With the caveat that I would still like the players to get a long rest. Lord knows they're going to need it between once they're finished here and they get to the Sea Ghost. So maybe, I did mention the fact that they were here in the afternoon, and I don't think this has taken that long of their time. So I think we can work that out pretty well. Basically to say that once they wrap up here, they can return to Saltmarsh. Whatever they're going to do there is not going to take that long, presumably. And then, they can basically just long rest the rest of the afternoon, and then wake up at, midnight or something, and then, return here to do the whole Sea Ghost portion of it. So I did unfortunately forget to include the signaling system in Sandbalay's quarters. I was just had a lot of loot stuff in there I had to take care of. So thankfully we can either put that on him as like a written journal entry, which is the easy way out of having to give players the information in case they kill somebody, or have Sandbalay himself surrender, and then he can offer up all that information about the Sea Ghost coming, the signaling system, and all of that, which I would of course prefer, but I also know that it is hubris as a DM to think that any specific NPC is going to either live or die. That's one thing that is kind of tricky to predict. For example, I thought that by surrendering one NPC here, that person might be a fount of information for the players, but I did not expect Chris's character to actually just straight up knock her unconscious after she revealed kind of some information. How are you resolving Ned? Or he could be a recurring backstabbing thorn in their side later to be the big bad evil guy, Nick and Ned. I do still have Ned in my back pocket. Ned ran upstairs, and as I anticipated, the players had their hands full and were not interested in following him. Most likely, Ned will reappear probably in this coming session. The bad thing is, they're in bad shape right now, and Ned is powerful, as they've seen. He can easily take somebody out, especially if he's creeping up on them from behind. Um, I am legit worried about the players right now if they don't play their cards right. Just because Raymond had to go and aggro basically the entire cavern room while they were still dealing with the skeletons things, and they could have really used another short rest, but it's unfortunately kind of too late for them here. Now, granted, Mac did take out 2 of the 3 scouts down here by himself, which is pretty damn impressive. Basically, one hit killing them. Unfortunately, he took 1 hit that took him down to 50% health. And as he teased at the end of either, I think it was the chat or maybe it was the end of the session, this scout right here, the one that's still alive, it actually goes before him in the initiative order. So this is going to be a big freaking deal right here because we've left an initiative order. Everybody's still in turn-based combat because there are still hostile enemies on the board. I mean, Toril and Savara are still way back in room 23. They're not going to get to combat anytime soon. Gottwald will have to dash to even get to Mac. So if Mac goes down, it really changes the entire context of this fight to where maybe Sandbalay has the others actually surrender. I don't know. It's going to get really crazy. Yeah, Ned does have 2 attacks. I mean, he's very deadly. And I mean, if the thing is, if I play him optimally, like he is actually stealthing and sneaking up on people, he will murder the fuck out of them. And they're just, I want them to make, smart choices. I don't want to punish them this early in the game. As Chris surmised, they're only level 2. And yet, there's going to be consequences if they keep pushing their luck and giving their swagger around. So I don't know. It's going to be really tricky. They do have some interesting negotiating tools, though. They have, at this point, taken down half, I believe, of the smugglers. I think only one of them was actually killed. The other 2 were knocked unconscious. And then Mac did kill these 2 with arrows. I don't think you can knock those 2 unconscious. But there are 5 down, and that means there are 5 left. So half of them are down. So that could be interesting, where you could have both sides actually even, pull away maybe, or somehow, have this interesting, tense, almost hostage situation negotiation thing. Like that could play. The thing is, these are not evil cultists or anything. These are smugglers who are very much willing to play ball with the player characters, and I'm definitely willing to, entertain whatever desperate ideas that they've got, I guess, because otherwise, I mean, Sambalay alone has 42 hit points, at least I gave him 42 hit points, and he's got spells. He can sit here and cast Scorching Ray twice, which is pretty painful. He can cast Magic Missile up to 4 times, which would literally TPK the party if he was able to sit back there and do that enough times. The party isn't necessarily aware of that, but I mean, it could get pretty nasty. Now, I don't think Mac has actually been able to see into this room since I hit everybody. Let's see if he's walking around. Okay, maybe he actually did. I don't know. He can see kind of like a bandit and one of the scouts over there. I don't think he's seen Sambalay or the Hobgoblin yet, however. Now, here's a good question. Yeah, they are level 2. I still need to get that soundbite. Do I go ahead and roll initiative for all the rest of the cavern crew? I don't have any good excuses not to do that. I mean, there's fighting, clearly. They have been warned that there's battling. I really feel like I kind of have to roll initiative. And I don't necessarily have to have them fight on their turns. Maybe they're getting into position. They're still feeling things out. But I think I kind of have to roll initiative for all the rest of these combatants. I think they have to be involved. Ned, of course, is going to be my big wild card back pocket thing. If the players are just being... I don't know. I'm almost like, it makes sense for Ned to reappear, but I am honestly kind of worried that if Ned reappears, he's just gonna instantly down somebody as soon as he does. I mean, that would be the dramatic thing, is if Sambalay is like, trying to talk them down. Now, Sambalay and Ned can't really communicate with each other, so he doesn't know that Ned's around still. And Ned, I don't know how much Ned would be trying to, especially if Ned ends up creeping down the stairs and seeing a bunch of like down smugglers here, he might be like, oh fuck. Like maybe I'm just gonna get out of here, press my luck somewhere else. That could be the case also. So at this point, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with Ned. I was thinking he would reappear like around the time of the Sambalay fight, but because the players are actually overextended more than I expected them to be, I'm a little worried about introducing a spy stat block with extra hit points, who's like out there stalking the party. That just seems really dangerous. Hard to tell if Mac is a negotiating type. I mean, he'll definitely want to talk at the drop of a hat. It just depends on how well they can, what they're gonna actually say. Yeah, I think Sambalay would try to negotiate with the party for sure. So that's what I mean. I think I'll go ahead and roll initiative for them. I can't really hide it, unfortunately, unless they're literally on the GM layer. But it's just because we're at the start of a round. It just makes sense at the start of the round to add initiative for all these new combatants. Maybe and we'll leave it up to the dice. Maybe we'll wait until it's Sambalay's turn, and then on his turn, he'll stride up, because maybe that'll allow some, more of the player characters to converge down here, or maybe Mac to retreat, like whatever happens. And then Sambalay can start calling out maybe some kind of truce or negotiation system, which, again, if they think the jig is up, then they'll be like, all right, we'll leave all our stuff here. I'll even tell you when the ship is coming. Just let us go. Basically, I'll just give the players all the information they need that they would have gotten from him anyway, and just been like, all right, and now they're, they're going to retreat, but they're going to, I don't know how much they can negotiate. Well, I guess they'll just leave with their lives. Maybe they'll take their unconscious buddies and essentially go free. Like they won't be, arrested or knocked out from the parties. That might be their only negotiating hook there. It's interesting. I don't run into this situation very often. I guess it's because the players are, say it with me now, level 2 and have overextended themselves, that we may be in a very unique, rare situation where the party is willing to negotiate with the enemy in good faith, possibly. And right now it's kind of even. Like the party's really weakened, but pound for pound, they're a lot stronger than the NPC stat block. But because they're all around 25 to 50%, actually Toral's at like 10% hit points or something. Because they're, weakened, and it starts getting a little more even keeled. And the thing is, as soon as I add Ned into the mix, now it goes way over into the other side. So that could be the way to use Ned. Basically, if negotiations break out and Sambalay, is retreating or something, and the players decide to betray them, then Ned can show up and really punish the players for thinking they've got one on them, or just help his buddies escape or something along those lines. So, and unfortunately, it means I can't really. This isn't like scripted stuff I'm writing down. That's the nerve-wracking part, right? So much of this depends on how the players react to the situation and what they decide, how they handle this, because I have all the information and they have limited information. They don't know. Well, what's interesting is there are 10 beds here, so maybe they have some kind of clue of how many people there are here. I don't think they're fully aware that Sambalay is third level spellcaster, whatever he is. They've got hobgoblins, the scouts, although none of them have too many hit points. It's mainly just Sambalay and Ned alone could take on the party, I feel like. Gotwald might not accept the parlay from pirates. They're not pirates, they will have you know. They are smugglers. They just work with pirates. But yes, that would be... Is this a Kalinar situation all over again, where they can't negotiate with anybody because of the rigid code? Maybe Gotwald is the wrong one to do the negotiating with in that case. And if I was playing Ned optimally, Gotwald would run down here and help Mac. The two, Savra and Toro, would be running, and then Ned would appear and just fucking down both of them. But that's not necessarily a fun story to tell, I don't think, of just murdering the players. So that's what little plans I can anticipate is going to be that. I think Sambalay is willing to negotiate. He'll have seen the bodies. And obviously the players can throw their weight around and be intimidating and threatening or whatever. They've made it this far into the cavern, so we know they must have made it past, at least a bunch of people. And maybe the players will be even smart and bluff, we even took down Ned, and we know all about that. And then Sambalay will be like, oh, shit. But he also wouldn't want to, he'll also be able to tell that the player characters are quite injured. So it'll be hopefully tense negotiations. I do not see it ending well if the players just straight up fight this out as they are right now, without any kind of, ability to back off or rest or something. It'll be real bad for them. But their goal is not to defeat Samblay necessarily. They've discovered the Sinister secret, and what they don't know their goal, which they will gain from Samblay, and that'll be part of his negotiating tools, I think, is if he's like, hey, you let me and the others go, we'll take all the bodies out, we'll disappear, and I will tell you how to signal the next ship coming in, and then you can do whatever you want with that next ship. And that maybe even that's a great way to go to Gottwald and be like, hey, you want to nab some actual fucking pirates? Because there's a pirate crew on their way tonight, and you'll be able to nail them, and I will give you that information on how to do the signaling system if you let us go. Boom. I mean, I think that's gonna work. And hopefully the players will pick up on the fact that that's like the next story seed is getting to the ship. So what's interesting is this may not even be much of a fight here, depending on how much the players are willing to negotiate and how much weight we need to throw around in terms of battling it out some more. But we may just do a big negotiation scene and then do our kind of return to Saltmarsh, and they'll be able to report. And even if the players say like, all right, well, you got to leave all this behind, they'll be like, that's fine, like all of this we're going to ship to the Sea Ghost, I guess, and then they were going to pay us in other goods or money or something for this. We were told that there was going to be, this was going to be the last ship basically that's going to be gathering weapons. Then we get into the interesting story of like, okay, if that's the case, then the Sea Ghost, where did they come out of? They must have left Bronzo Mine. Or really, I mean, they could have left anywhere. Maybe they're going to Bronzo Mine. But the nearest port of call would still be Gunderland. Basically, I need them to get that information from the Sea Ghost. Not necessarily right when they board. They can get that from either the captain or the captain's quarters or something. But that's the important thing. This is still the linear sequence, by the way. This is all going to be pretty railroady in the beginning. Obviously, this whole Sinister Secret one is just, newbie dungeon stuff. And then once they get the Sea Ghost, we'll technically go to the world map, which, by the way, I'm thinking I may even use the big official Wizards of the Coast, like D&D Sword Coast map. I've been looking at it, and I was like, it might actually be better than the one that's in Call from the Deep. And basically the one where if you searched for the map or you went on the Wizards website, it's the map. I think it's the one that has been there since probably Storm King's Thunder. That one, by the way, I like it a little better because it doesn't have the Wreck of the Golden Crown on there. I feel like that's something the player should discover and not be on the map immediately, or as well as all these little blue dots. This one may be on that map now I think about it. Let's see if I can find that one. Yeah, it's the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. So I will put it in my browser here. Sorry, you're gonna see a weird my overlay still on top of the map. But this is the map I'm thinking. I've not put this in Roll20 yet, but I'm thinking I may actually I don't even have to, I can cut off, everything east of basically the Sword Coast. I don't need all this to the west, but if you look at it, it actually does have like all of the actual Sea of Swords and the water part on here, which is obviously what I'm interested in. And here you can see the map. It just shows Gundbarg, which is the main city of Gunderland, which is where their next destination is going to be. So I like this one because it doesn't show the Wreck of the Golden Crown on there, and doesn't have a lot of the little, places that I feel like should be hidden are annoyingly not hidden on this map. They're all kind of pointed out. So I like that one better. The bummer is it does unfortunately have the ruins of Askarl and all of Purple Rocks on here for some reason, which is really annoying because that happens to be where the freaking end game is in Call from the Deep. So that's a little bit of a bummer that they just happen to put all that on there, but maybe that makes it less suspicious. I don't know. It's got a bunch of Moonshay Isle stuff on there, but I don't know if we'll even go in there. Maybe I'll find some excuse. But I don't know. What do you all think? I kind of like, I mean, the look of this one's obviously really nice too. And you could make it with it would scale appropriately with the hex grid and everything. I just like it because it has fewer of the locations that I feel like should be hidden on this map. I guess I'm trading for, because I did get a version of this map that doesn't have the Ruins of Escarl on there. Yeah, the players don't have the context for it, right? They don't know that Ruins of Escarl happens to be where the end game is. But I do like this one. The other one does not have Wreck of the Golden Crown on there, so I guess I still have to figure that out. But I don't have to show them the Sword Coast map until after we've conquered the Sea Ghost, though. So I guess I have a few more weeks to try to figure that out. Because once we've taken the Sea Ghost, and then they can essentially be given the Sea Ghost for their reward for taking out the whole Saltmarsh smuggling crew. Then hopefully they'll be pointed to the fact that they need to go to Gundbarg. Specifically, I like giving the idea of Bronzo Mine, because otherwise I don't know if they know that location in Fiskerbark. And then once they arrive at Gundbarg, that's when they can be told all the information about the Nautiloid crash and all of that thing. So I don't mind giving them the location of Bronzo Mine a little bit earlier, which is totally just an optional place. It just happens to be where one of the fucking mind flayers is, as like a boss of his own little mini dungeon. But that's kind of like where, to me, Bronzo Mine is where the armies kind of suited up and geared up and got enchanted and stuff for their big attack on Neverwinter. So that way they can kind of follow the trail for that. The timeline doesn't quite sync up very well because technically the Sea Ghost should be bringing the final weapon supplies all the way to Bronzo Mine, and then the attack would happen. But I'm gonna hopefully break up a few more days that delay the players, so by the time they make it to the mine, that army will be gone. By having them have a couple of ship encounters, and then the big one is salvage operation. I will throw that at the players, and then they'll actually hopefully go to Gundbarg first. Because that's the only location they're probably going to have, and then they'll get all the other information. So hopefully it'll be delayed them by a couple days, and then it makes sense why they didn't just, because they maybe their first thought was like, oh, we can pretend to be the ship and show up with the bad guys and stuff, but most of the bad guys will be long gone by then, so that won't be necessarily part of the plan. Oops, where's my thing? Oh, it is this one. So I think I've got everything mostly ready for the cavern, with the caveat that I don't know what the hell is going to happen here. I mean, I've got Ned. I can use him however I want to. I'd kind of like to reuse him, but I got to be really smart about it. And then, yeah, it's up to the players how much they want to negotiate with Sanbalé and the crew and try to get the information they need. But Sanbalé will be very willing to negotiate, very willing to not surrender to them, but willing to like back off, and maybe as part of the trade-off, he will tell them all the information about the Sea Ghost coming. I agree. I want to get them on the ocean too. And this was one of the reasons I wanted to start with Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. I thought it was such a good opening is because it makes it feel like their ship is earned, which I also think that Pillars of Eternity 2 does a good job in. That is also a nautical campaign. It's a CRPG from a few years ago. And the player is initially shipwrecked, of course, in the archipelago that the game takes place in. And then the opening tutorial is like that whole island you're shipwrecked on. And then you go to like the village and you have to do some quests. And you basically do a whole bunch of stuff in order to earn your first, basically the means to, I think, repair your original ship. And then so when you finally have it, it feels earned, right? And then you're like out on the sea and you've done kind of some tutorial stuff before you get on the ship and have to deal with the ship stuff. So that's what this is to me. This is the big, not the tutorial, but we all hopefully know how to play D&D. But it feels more earned, that especially when they can go and take the ship over themselves, which I'm also really looking forward to, which I did realize that I'm going to need some kind of a ship, a little like dinghy boat for this map, because they'll be arriving by sea. And unfortunately, this particular map doesn't have a whole lot of room in the water, but hopefully we won't need it. I think the idea is for the players to be able to board this. What I'd like to do and encourage them to do is be able to sneak up, and it'll be dead of night, sneak up to as close to the ship as possible. Maybe, hopefully they'll even use Sanbalé if they can and be like, all right, make sure everything's normal and everything, and be as fun and duplicitous as they want. and try to come up with an interesting plan, and then board, and then, I'm sure at some point all hell will break loose. But I will need some kind of boat. I need to figure out what boat this is. That's down here to simulate the fact that, in case stuff breaks out while the players are still, let's see, 5, 10, 15. That might be a 20-foot. Can I just get like a rowboat or something? I'm looking at Gabriel Picard's rowboat 3x4. That's pretty close. Pretty darn close, I'd say. Just so I can put something on the actual map. It needs to be like a, a little token size and not like a full map size. 20 has lots of dinghies. They got dinghies coming out of their dinghies. Yeah, if I need map art, I pretty much just type Gabriel Picard and then try to find stuff from there. Fishing boat, small. Ooh, that might be good. Oh, that's a fat chonkster of a boat. Rubber boat, ship 3x6. Can I make that a little bit wider? That's almost exact. All right, get rid of the stupid big ass one. That's pretty close. Can I make a 1? Well, I guess it is supposed to be pretty. How much? What is it? How much does it say this thing can hold? This is like, oh, shit. Close the window. Sea cave. Is a small boat, perhaps large enough for 8 people, with oars, a step-down mast, and a neatly furled sail. Okay, so if we make this one more wider, that does not look like it's big enough for 8 people. But this doesn't also look like it's big enough for 8 people. It's a big dinghy. I'm just trying to go by that picture. Well, we could make it one more big. I don't know if this is going to fit on that map very well, though. That map doesn't have enough room for a big-ass boat like this. Also, the textures start getting a little fuzzy. All right, what if we take this guy? And copy him over to the other map. Where are my sight lines? Yeah, so I've only got like this much room around the actual boats themselves. It is going to be weird to fight on this map because this is like the main, level, but then the stairs go up and then you'd have to go to this level up here. So as soon as people go up or down, you got to swap maps, which is going to be slightly jarring. Or not swap maps, but I guess just put them on a different part of the same map. Oh, shit. I just put in the light layer. I'll do that. All right. So, in theory, it would be like that. See, right then, you can't even fit this damn thing on. You're, like, bisecting the light. So, it's going to be a little tricky if they start some shenanigans or somebody wants to like stay in a boat or something. It's not going to be easy for me to do that, but I have a boat. I guess the other one was a little easier because it was skinnier. Yeah, we could grab that one instead. That one really doesn't look like it'd fit fucking anybody, though. It's all approximate. Yeah, so that's a little bit easier, but it looks like you're only going to fit like 3 people on this boat. It's just not nearly big enough. Well, hopefully we don't have to use... we don't go to this map until people have actually like reached the ship itself, because I would like to obviously fight on the big ship and not on these tiny ships, but of course, we never know what we're quite going to get, do we? I'm going to put these two just kind of off to the side on the GM layer in case we need them. When it comes with the Sea Ghost, or when it comes to the Sea Ghost, takes 30 minutes to get to the ship. If they approach silently from the port side without using light sources, they'll be totally unobserved. Deck watching the coast from the starboard side and not see or hear intruders. Don't give themselves away. More factors: which direction the boat approaches the ship, whether the watchers in the ship are alerted to possible danger. Okay, so it's possible they could come up without even, if they come up on the other side. It doesn't even say there's like stealth involved here, though. It's more like logic. Can you come in on the side that the ship is not facing the land, I guess? Yeah, they drop anchor no matter what, so they sit there and wait for the signal, I guess. The signal is supposed to come every 10 minutes. I don't know if I'll include that bit in there. Also, it's really, yeah, 10 minutes for an hour. That's annoying. I feel like the whole signaling system is just going to be a way for Zambalay to like garner favor with the players when they do negotiations. I do always forget about there's a bandit in the crow's nest. So I guess there should be another bandit like on the GM layer that can like leap down or shoot maybe from up in the crow's nest. That'd be a pain in the ass. 40 feet above the main deck. Open wooden platform, 10 feet square with 3-foot high wooden walls. Which there is a crow's nest thing on here. I saw it. Right there. So you could totally use that. 10-foot square. That's fucking big, man. Yoink. I could almost put that on the GM layer. Is this kind of cut off? No, it looks like I can kind of see that, I guess. Let me put this on the GM layer to remind me then. But there needs to be a bandit up there too. Bandit 2. Congratulations, you're the one in the crow's nest. If you rolled or not. Does he have a heavy crossbow? What do bandits usually have? Light crossbow, that's fine. That would be a pain though. Just every round you're taking damage until somebody climbs 40 feet up there. I imagine that would have to be an athletics check too. Climbing up, like, I don't know what that word for that is, rigging or the ropes. Not a gimme. He's oblivious to the character's intrusion unless someone climbs the rope ladder or the rigging to approach his position. He always takes such an approach. The climber is 15 feet below, investigating attacking if circumstances warranted. They can bluff their way in once they've been detected. They might say they are new recruits, unaccustomed to the codes, made a mistake signaling something of similar nature. It's a DC 14 deception check. They are relieved up to the point when the first 3 characters get aboard by means of a rope ladder lower. I feel like these poor guys should always have disadvantage though, because they're such a unique crew. It's going to be hard for them to, pass off as being like just one of the crew or something. Like, no, I don't recall lizards and minotaurs and genkus on the crew. Rope ladder lowered to them, or they can just, if they really want to just fucking Navy SEAL it, they can go completely stealthy. Perception checks that rely on hearing are made with disadvantage because of the sound of the waves and sea, I guess. Hull of the ship provides many handhelds for climbing, but is also very slippery. Climbing the hull without a rope or other device requires a successful DC 14 athletics check, or you fall into the water. So it's a DC 14 deception check. DC 14 athletics to climb. Rope ladder. The crew has got the captain, the deck wizard, the bosun, the first mate, 7 bandits, and then I've replaced the 3 lizard folk with Sawagans, which may make things a lot more difficult because lizard folk, as written, I don't believe fight the players, whereas a Sawagan probably would have no problem fighting. Yeah, it says do not help defend the ship unless they are directly threatened by the actions of the characters, whereas the Swagan probably would join the fight, but I could delay them for sure. In fact, that's something Captain Sigurd could even yell as part of, like, you know, this weird alliance they've got. Come out and help, you bastards. Although it does mention these guys will also surrender. If the ship's captain, first mate, bosun, and deck wizard are all killed or have fled, then the bandits will obviously surrender. Captain's got 51 hit points. Did I do that? Urkel voice? I think I just rolled for that, because that's not max. 78 is 56 plus 14 is 70, I think. So that's not near max, but it is above average. Attacks with a crossbow and a longsword. Very cool. He does. I got to remember that. He's got advantage against being knocked prone, because God knows Gottwald's going to be rushing him. I have thought about having one of these people know Gottwald. I think that would be probably pretty impactful. Maybe not like the main bad guy in Gottwald's story, but you know, somebody that was involved with the ship or was, you know, on that ship or something. And maybe teasing the fact that you know, whoever Gottwald's main villain, which I need to figure that out, I guess, since that might come to fruition. Oh, what would be the most satisfying thing for Gottwald? I mean, I could even go see King Tendrix. That would be just completely intertwining him with the main quest. Because he's one of the main villains at that point. Maybe it's before Tendrix ascended. Because this is just Gottwald's, you know, in the past somewhere. So it could be that Tendrix was a villain. This is maybe before he made the Black Armada, or I can use any. The only thing is a lot of Tendrix's subordinates are also kind of monstrous. Let's see, where is that under Tendrix and Pirate Lords? Unfortunately, I don't have the pictures here with the Roll20 version. There's a Green Slod, Captain Scummer, a Spirit Naga, Profanus, a Sawagan Baron who wields 4 wands in each hand, named Dirge. There's a Frost Giant named Jarl Bluebeard, although I think he's one of the few that's actually not in the fortress. I believe he's guarding the fortress outside of it. And then there's there is one human, the Storm Maiden. So I could use one of those guys. It's the Bovine of Frontiers. Hey, we'll burn that sucker out. Oh, man. Hopefully I don't burn my ship. Their ship. It's the ship I want to give them. Don't destroy the ship, you bastards. Yeah, there's a whole section on burning or hurling the Sea Ghost. But that is not the whole goal is to give them this damn ship for the rest of their adventure, or at least until, you know, maybe I give them like a flying ship at some point or something. But I would love for them to be able to stick with this ship and have it be like a part of them, and, you know, upgrade it, and just, I don't know, they can paint Genocider on the side if they want, whatever they want to do with it. And I believe I've got everything set up at this point for if the ship is alerted, which is similar to how I set up the caverns. So the main deck, which is actually here, has the bosun. Oh, maybe this crew member is the one in the crow's nest then. Oh no, it does say 2 human figures lean against the rail mid deck, staring towards the coast. Okay. And what do we decide? Port was left and starboard was right, so that means if this is the front of the ship, then this is the coast, I think, up here. And I believe starboard was towards the coast. So they're going to be up here. Even right against the railing, I guess. Okay, and then the forecastle. There's one bandit up here watching for signals from the shore. I guess, I mean, it doesn't say like any perception checks for stealth purposes or something. I don't know what the average kind of perception we're looking at here. Bandits all have 10. First mate has 10. I mean, it's going to be wisdom, so. The deck wizard has a 13. Even the captain's got a 10. So I guess if the wizard's paying attention, he could find people slightly easier, but otherwise, doesn't take a huge stealth check. Although, of course, they are only level 2. Yeah, the emergency backup. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't come to that where they have to just give them a ship. But yeah, I would totally call. Hey, here's your ship. It's called emergency backup. Because you assholes burned the ship I was going to give you to the ground or to the water. Poop deck, which is back here, has a bandit from fore to aft. The deck wizard, the ship's captain, and another crew member. So 2 bandits. I guess we'll do it. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. That's fine. So basically, if a fight breaks out, early on, really this guy would be 9 up here if he was included. I think you'd have to include, obviously, the bosun and the bandit here, which is bandit 1, and then the 4 on the poop deck, which is bandits 2 and 3, the captain and the wizard, and then the other bandit 4 in the forecastle, and then in the crow's nest, you've got another bandit. So you could potentially have 5 bandits, the bosun, the wizard, and the captain in a round of combat, which is that now the players should be fully rested, which is good news for them. But that's still a lot to take. What would be really fun is if they got clever and started opening doors and like ducking inside and trying to avoid getting hit that way. I just foresee this being a very difficult map to run on Roll20. No fault to the map maker at all, but just because of the fact that there's multiple elevations being shown on 2 different maps, and that is really hard to convey to the point where I'm almost tempted to use this darker map here, even though it doesn't show the doors, and maybe it's better to just say, yeah, there's doors there if you want to run through them, versus like, here's the actual people, up here that are like clearly able to shoot down and attack you from, because everybody's got range up here. The captain's got crossbow, the bandit's got crossbows. I assume the wizard's got firebolt or something. Actually, firebolt would be a bad idea on a ship. He's got Ray of Frost. That makes more sense. Throw that Ray of Frost around. Melf's acid arrow would be great too, although I'd also be leery about throwing a fucking acid around a ship. Gust of Wind, I think, could be hilarious on a ship. And yes, somebody pointed out, of course, that's used to help fill their sails, but I also see it being very effective at just throwing people overboard. Strength to be pushed 15 feet away from you in a direction following the line. So that would almost guarantee people start getting thrown overboard with a giant gust of wind. So depending on if I can angle it correctly, a gust of wind could be a really fun spell to make people deal with. A cruise job. The deck wizard, yeah. Finger guns. Misty Step is a great spell to have as a DM also. So I don't know how. I guess you could Misty Step. Yeah, you could do pretty well with Misty Step. You can get 30 feet around. You go 30 feet to the other side of the ship too. That'd be pretty effective. So that would be like the opening round. Because I mean, I see this devolving into a fight pretty quickly. Like especially, I mean, if the players show up with like some of the crates of weapons and stuff, like I don't know, man. Especially Gottwald would just lose his shit pretty quick. But like I said, I can help balance things by staggering the waves that the party has to fight. So like round 1 would be all of those that I just mentioned, which is a fucking like that's plenty for combat for a group of 4 level 2 PCs. Holy crap. Hopefully they'll be smart and duck into these. Oh, Misty Step to the Crow's Nest. That's fucking amazing. Oh, that's brutal. I didn't even think about that. Holy shit. That is deliciously evil. Holy moly. Yeah. That would be pretty nasty. Just 40 feet out of range. Now, I don't Misty Step, I don't know how. I guess if this distance to this distance, you start getting some Pythagorean theorem out here. If we would allow that kind of jaunt, but I do think this has got to be slightly elevated, right? I think it does say all the measurements somewhere. Smuggler ship stands 9 feet above the waterline at the top of its main deck rails and 17 feet above the waterline at the top of its forecastle and poop deck. So that means it's 8 feet. So that's a solid like story. But that is if this is 40 feet above there, that means you're really kind of close with the 30 feet. I was not going to level up to 3 before the Sea Ghost, Sylvan. And I don't think... So I believe as written, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're actually level 1 for the Haunted House. And then they're level 2 for the Sea Ghost. And then they're level 3 after they finish the Sea Ghost. So granted, it feels like, you know, gosh, my players are going to spend, you know, this 3rd session still at level 2. But really, they would have leveled up after... Wow, that would have been really sucky. They would have leveled up after 3 sessions. I don't know. I don't know how I would have snuck in that. I don't know how they're supposed to do the Haunted House at level 1. That's bananas to me. That's difficult enough at level 2. But I think it works out on my pacing if I can stretch them to be level 2 until they actually finish the Sea Ghost. It does start feeling like it's might be a hot minute because we're still in the caverns at our 3rd session, I guess. But I'm thinking when we end session 3, hopefully we've at least made it to where we're starting this fight on the Sea Ghost. And again, a lot of that depends on how much fighting we actually do in the caverns. And maybe we'll actually get through some fights on the Sea Ghost. You know, if the negotiations go smoothly. So I'm thinking we can wrap this whole thing up in 4 sessions, because by session 3 we should be at least at the very beginning of the Sea Ghost. By the end of session 3 we should be at the beginning of the Sea Ghost, and then we can spend an entire session doing the Sea Ghost, and hopefully we can wrap that up. And then that would be just good. And you know, I can easily make it so that the Sea Ghost has less crew than it has. Let's face it. Like if this one fight is like taxing them completely, even the Sawagans come in as a big thing. Like, you know, we don't have to use all these guys fucking down here, like these 4 extra bandits and whatever this guy is. Is he the first mate? He's the bosun. The bosun. He's got the hook. We don't have to use these guys if we don't need to. By the way, I did replace all the barrels with crates, as you can see, since they are smuggling a bunch of weapons in. I still have silk here. I guess I can replace those with crates as well when I think about it. I don't think they're in the silk business. They're in the weapons business. And business is good. Really, they're in the Zealot Crusade business. Try and make this art work if I can. There's no silk here. It's crates, you fools. All crates. Although now it looks like you can't actually... make that a little bit smaller. I wonder if there's a different... So like a 1 hex crate I can use? I think I got this all from this. Yes, there is. This is all from Quick Encounters Ship Pack 1, available on Roll20. It's tricky because I need to... Yeah, that needs to be smaller. There needs to be a little bit of a space here so they know that there's a door they can get to. There we go. That's probably good enough. But I think that was the only art I had to replace in here. Keep the barrels and stuff because that makes sense for a ship. Don't leave any gunpowder around. Yeah, I mean, otherwise I'm not changing. Like I said, I'm changing the lizard folk to Sawagan, and then they will be the zealot ones that will be attacking. And that should be a shock to the players. Like, wait a minute, these pirates are like working with these creatures that don't work with anybody. Like that should be a big like what the fuck moment is going on, and teasing like kind of the bigger story to come. And then besides that, I need to make sure the captain has the information about where the mine is. And then obviously if they take out the captain, which I could see that happening very easily, then they'll get that information from his desk or his body or something. But basically they'll have to get the information that this ship is bound for Gunderland and they're prepping for a big thing, that they're the last arrival. And yeah, like teasing just a bunch of shit to come, basically. I don't know if... I'm really kind of having to come up with this part because I don't like the way Call from the Deep starts, if we're being honest. It just starts with them already getting the information about, hey, there's a alien crash out on this island and we need to go there. That's kind of the whole start of it. Trying to read up on... Stores a messenger from Gunderland. He came to Neverwinter on behalf of King Redax to bring news of the crash to Lord Neverember and ask for assistance. Store is eager to return to Gunbarg, his home city, and spends most of the time relaxing or examining the voyage. Rumor has it the vessel fell from the sky in the territory of Jarl Frostgale on the west coast of Gunderland. Some strange creatures managed to escape the vessel and kill a few farmers. Nobody witnessed the crash survive, but the remains of there fall to sea. Most think the crash is just a strange wrecked pirate ship and the deaths were caused by the crew. So I'm not even going to give them any of that information from the Sea Ghost because these guys will already be part of the villains, like working with the villains as the Black Armada. Instead, they'll get that tease when they get to the salvage operation. That's the information they'll get. But they will get a tease that there's something brewing in Gunderland and that should motivate them to make it over there, hopefully. Yeah, so the whole quest, they already know that basically they get the thing for Neverwinter and then they set sail and go there. And then they do have encounters that I probably will use, which is this fun reoccurring villain of Captain Callus, who literally has like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 stat blocks and can be just... I mean, I guess that could be the one that Gottwald hates, but I don't want to... I want to make Captain Callus more of a fun villain, like Ultros from Final Fantasy VI, versus like somebody the players actually like really hate and have like a vendetta against them. I want them to develop that vendetta for sure. But not necessarily part of anybody's immediate backstory, I guess, if I can get away with it. He's got an ogre first mate. And he's got Misty Step, which is fantastic. Yeah, and this one just has them basically doing a bunch of encounters to get them to 3rd level, or even 4th level by the time they get there. Yeah, after enduring 8 days of random encounters, the characters had advanced to 3rd level. Like, that sounds terrible. I don't think we're going to be doing 8 days of random encounters. Instead, I probably will do this Sawagan attack. I'll do Captain Callus, and then we'll do Salvage Operation, all at 3rd level. And then, once they've finished all of that, they will get to 4th level for Gunderlin, which then we're going to be using all the rest of the Call from the Deep content, which is the town of Gunbarg, the Nautiloid crash site, the Bronzo mine, and the wreck of the Golden Crown. And once they do all of that, they'll level up to 5, and then they'll haul ass back to Neverwinter to do the big repelling of the big fight. So hence why, unfortunately, they're still going to be level 2 for the Sea Ghost, because that's just the way that the pacing works out to be. But as I said, I can scale this one, especially with the amount of reinforcements. In fact, if I think this is going to be too hard, and we're going to talk about this again on Thursday, I could even have 1 or 2 of these bandits be in different rooms so that the way they're staggered a little better. Because now I'm thinking that that's actually like half of the entire crew is already going to be attacking the players in round 1. And then the next reinforcement would be the 3 Sawagans bursting out of this room here from room, whatever that is, 7. And then maybe on round 3, then you've got 4 more bandits and the bosun rushing up from the main deck. And that is a lot to take the players out at. But, I mean, it is possible these guys, they wouldn't surrender as long as the captain's still up, though. I think that's what they're saying. But I don't know. We'll see what the players do. I usually underestimate them, and they usually surprise me. But we're also going into this session with, the players being really wounded, and it'll be very curious to see if they can make their way out of it. But I think negotiations are inevitable and are coming, and this is definitely going to be, I say the most difficult session to prep so far. We've only done 2 sessions, but in terms of the wild card for what the players are going to do and how it's going to happen, we also have that whole, like I said, that in-between section where I don't know if the players, want to go to Captain... I've only introduced 2 NPCs to them in Saltmarsh, right? Captain Fireborn, who seemed like he was in charge of the legal system there and the militia, and then that Yellen Primewater, who just seemed like he was a somebody and an important noble. They could talk to either one of them. Primewater would definitely not tip his hand that he is behind all of this for sure, and that's not even really part of the context of this adventure. That I like to think that Primewater's probably going to get away with everything here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the little in-between part. Mainly, they just need to get a long rest for sure before they actually take on the Sea Ghost, because that is going to be full of dudes, and they need to be able to take that out, and hopefully get a ship by the end of that session and the A level up, and that'll be good. All right, I think that will do it for this Monday edition of Crafting the Deep. If you want to enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Dan, Brandon, Sinner Insider, David Eclectic, Roleplay Roll, Christopher, Brian, Corey, Koa1337, Big Nut, John F, John L, Scott, Eric, Tyler, Nathan, Camp Crystal Lake Counselor, Andrew C, Daryl the Reldron, Take a Breath, Captain Woody 79, Stephanie, Andy, P0, 11, 35, 809, and Patrick, and gold patrons RPG, Paper Crafts, Free Boy, and Human, Dead Lizard, Lion, Sam, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Nathan, Patrick, Scott, Garrett, Thomas, and Robert. Thank you all very much for your support. I'll see you in another crafting episode on Thursday.